Hi, and welcome to another video from the CTAD Clinic. My name's Dr. Mike Lloyd and I'm the Clinic Director. In the video today, I'm going to do a little bit of a reflection on the recent trip to the United States. So this was done from the clinic with a goal to try and network and build connections between the UK and the United States in terms of working with complex trauma and dissociation. Obviously, this is my clinical field, but it's a real passion of mine to want to get across what dissociation is all about and try and understand some of the things that are going wrong. Now, my talk when I was doing the work at Wright State University in Ohio was about the thing that is missing. So we were looking within the talk and spent all day talking to a great number of people, and this is what I'm going to be talking about a little bit today, to try and understand what is it that we're doing well and what is it that we're missing out on. Because no matter how much we try and no matter how much great skills and influence and passion for this work that there is out there, there are still lacking the facilities and the resources to do it in the way that we really want to do it. We know how to do work with dissociation really well. We know what people who are dissociative are looking for. We know we spent years talking to them to try and understand what they want, and yet things are still not working out somehow. So it could be a bit of a negative picture, and I wanted to go across the pond and go and talk to people in the States and try and make some sense of it. Now, it was a fantastic trip, and I spoke to lots of different people, and I was in Missouri, and I was in Ohio, and I was in New York State. And we're trying to really build an understanding of what is it that's going on and what is it that we can improve on. And I really just wanted to sort of put a gentle reflection, as it were, on this whole process. And I think the start point is that it was incredibly welcoming. I mean, I didn't meet anybody who didn't want to know about this work, right? There was this great understanding and awareness of what dissociation is, and there was a real desire to want to connect. And I think that's really where we should be looking at. It's not that we've got a lack of information or knowledge about this. There's loads of it about. There's great articles, there's great books, there's great podcasts, there's great channels on social media doing all this sort of stuff. There's huge problems, and that's a whole different thing, but we weren't really looking at the problems. We were looking at the stuff that was working well and trying to understand why it's not working in the way that we want it to. So there's no lack of information, good quality information out there. There's no lack of people that have this condition, sadly, and there's no lack of people that want to work with this condition, but everyone's so widespread. The United States is sort of like a perfect example of this because it's so massive that even though there are quite a lot of people, they're really, really spread out. So drawing things together and trying to make some connection is exactly what I was trying to understand, to look at, and maybe even facilitate and be a part of. Now, it would be a fantastic thing for me to think if the CTAD Clinic was somehow a part of a process by which we can link together, we sort of forge some bonds, get some community going around this, and really try and work together. I'd be so proud. It'd be like a lifetime achievement type thing for me to be able to do this and use my clinic for this sort of purpose, as much as just delivering the assessments and therapies and the regular training that we do. At the heart of this then was the audience that I spoke to when I was at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. I've never spoken to a group of people as widespread as that. Now, we do lots of training events, and sometimes the training events is to sort of expert by experience groups, or it's professional groups, or it's teaching groups to students, whether it's psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, whatever. The day in Ohio was everybody together in one room, and this was completely new. And I mentioned that at the time at the end about how overjoyed I was realistically to be talking to all the people that I want to talk about, all in the same place, all at the same time, whilst also seeing them all interacting with each other and sharing that space. It was truly wonderful and really inspiring. So we had people that were dissociative. So we had a lot of folks there that had traveled a long way to come and listen to me talking about dissociation, and they were the dissociative people. They were the ones that have this condition, that have gone through the life experiences that have left them with this condition, and they wanted to connect. We had therapists there, people that have been working for months or years, because there was a whole range of sort of experience within that room, within that lecture theatre. So there's lots of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, all sorts of people that had come together and wanted to learn more and meet each other. We also had supporters of people with dissociation. So we had the folks that were just there to care, to look after, to make sure that, that they could do their best in supporting the person they know, whether a family or whether a friend, in order to try and have a good and productive life. And then we had students from the School of Wellness and Psychology that were there, so various different levels, undergraduate and postgrad students were there, and we have faculty staff there, so people that were running the courses at the university, the School of Psychology, people who were responsible for organising the curriculum, tutoring and teaching these students. So effectively we got 5 different groups of people all present in the same place, all hearing the same things, listening to the same questions, being part of the conversations, and we had breakout groups during the day, different sessions like around lunchtime, so that we had groups of people being able to talk, share their experiences. And for some people, for some therapists, it was connecting to people that they may never have met in person, and for some people with dissociation, it was the first time that they've actually ever met anybody else with the same condition. So we had in that room people with OSDD, Other Specified Dissociative Disorders, and Dissociative Identity Disorder, DID, meeting other people with those same conditions for the very, very first time. It was heartwarming to see how good it was. As an aside, it was also really lovely that you couldn't tell who was who. So on a stigma busting thing, this was pretty amazing, because when you looked out into the audience, you didn't know who the therapists were, who the people with dissociation were, who the faculty were. Everyone pretty much just looked like regular people talking and having conversation and enjoying the day. And I think that was a really nice one as a small bit of stigma busting thing, is that you just couldn't really judge a book by its cover. And I think that was kind of a wonderful moment. But to have all of those people in the room and to try and be thinking about this, to try and look at these difficulties, and then have the day to try and actually do something about it, to connect, to do the opposite of what dissociation is all about, which is disconnection, to bring everybody together in that one place and do that, I think was a truly inspiring experience. I'll never forget it, and it's been really nice that the university have reached out since then, and we're going to see if we can look at doing some teaching opportunities. So people from the CTAD Clinic, myself and maybe some other members of the team, being able to go across to do some teaching in the United States and really just try and maintain this momentum that we've built with the trip, and talking to people in different states across the United States about what it is that we can offer from the UK to try and help. Now, I'm not saying that we're doing it any better or any worse than the United States. I simply know that we are doing it, and there was a huge amount of interest in me going over and doing this talk and meeting different professionals throughout the week that I was in the United States. So with that desire, there's a dream, I suppose, that we can all have of sort of pulling everything together and working collaboratively, understanding the same thing from all of our different perspectives, really learning from each other, taking the time to stop, think and listen to each other and work out what's going on. So that's really the reflections on the work. I also want to generally thank everybody that I met while I was there, and I've had some really nice comments come back thanking me for the time and effort, and I want to put exactly the same thing back. A lot of people travelled hundreds and hundreds of miles in order to get there and sit and listen. That might not be a lot by American standards, but by my standards it's a lot. People travelled from hours, they took flights, they took extraordinary efforts to come and listen to me talking throughout the day on the subject that we all feel passionate about. And I think if that can be replicated, if we can do more of that, bringing all of these disparate groups together, the folks that don't often sit and listen unless they're actually in the therapy session or a teaching classroom, but to have all of this together, to have students at the start of their career, university lecturers and teachers actually who are providing that information, but learning from the therapists that have been doing this clinically for ages, understanding the research that people are doing, listen to the needs of supporters, what they want to do, and fundamentally listening to the people who are dissociative, because they are right at the center of what all our decisions and all our processes should be about. I want to take this opportunity really through this channel to say thank you to everybody who contributed. Thank you to Front Porch Counselling, to Melissa and Bobby who really set so much of this up in Ohio. Thank you to the people that I met in Kansas City. Thank you to the people I met in New York, and to the faculty and the team at Wright State, to the folks that really put this together, to Jonathan and Michelle who organised the day and allowed us the permission to come in and take over this enormous room at Wright State and to put on this event. So And everybody who showed up made something. All the people that stood by and waited at the end so we could have a chat and tell me all their personal stories and what it meant to them. It was truly, truly inspiring. So I think, we've got this really awful thing, this condition of dissociation that comes out of complex trauma. We all understand this to be a really difficult and often very, very unpleasant thing to people to have to live with. And yet we put that at the front of all of our thoughts, and we spoke to each other, and we talked, and we laughed, and we engaged, and we had all sorts of different conversations, and people seemed to go away thinking that that was a good thing, and the comments are reflecting of that. So I think we just need to do more. We've got all of the various different pieces. What we need to do is work really hard to bring them all together and make something of it, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with this visit, and I hope it's going to get replicated. And I do want to come back to the United States next year and do exactly the same sort of thing, but in a different place. So if there are folks watching the video who are linked to universities specifically, this is a way of going about this that can make a huge difference. Now, we're going to hopefully be part of the curriculum at Wright State University. It'll be a fantastic thing for us to be able to do. We can do more of this, and I think if there are universities that are interested in the United States about hosting a day like this, we will come over from the UK and we will put on this talk, and we'll try and build these connections and work with it. So do have a think and let me know if that's something that would work in your area. It's a lot of time and effort to put this together, but it does seem like it's worth it. But at least we've got the foundations in place and the logistics and the understanding of what it takes to actually bring us together. It's a huge effort from a lot of people, all for the same thing. There's no lack of passion, it's just making it work. So once again, thanks to absolutely everybody who contributed and welcomed me to that day and had me over and listened to me warble on for an entire day about this topic. And I just want to finish with the one thing that I forgot to say right at the very end of the lecture. I can't believe it. So I do want to say now to everybody that was there and all the people listening to this video, please do take great care.